one man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
Jakey, the producer. What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Creed of Crypto live stream. I am one half of your host, Boi Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host, Crypto Ewok. We got people pouring into the chat already. 4-4 DJ Moonboy, our favorite wall-to-wall TV, is here tonight, spreading some cheer, I'm sure. We got Ilsu Bake there earlier as well. Welcome in, everybody. Hit the like on your way in to support Real DeFi. Hit the dislike if you are wall-to-wall TV. We very much appreciate it. We have a lot to talk about tonight. Not a slow news time, despite the way things have been going lately. We're going to talk about meme power. PulseChain meme coins have been holding up so well against Pulse, as Pulse has had, quite the pullback over the last few days. We're going to talk about that. And a lot more. We have some news from the Fed today. They're standing pat on interest rates. We'll real quick touch on that and see how it could affect macro markets over the next year, because it's getting pretty interesting. It looks like we're not going to see a pivot for quite some time, and most of us thought we'd be pivoting like now. So we're not seeing that yet. Some drama with some Ethereum L2s over the weekend. A whole bunch of stuff that we got to get to tonight. So BitBoy launches the Bro token on PulseChain. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Welcome in, everybody. We are buying the dip. I did this morning. And yeah, feeling good. Ewok, how are you feeling about the market right now? We are pulling back everywhere. It's not just PulseChain this time. We got Bitcoin to 57K. So how you feeling, Ewok?
I'm doing okay, but you got CZ going to jail. You got Roger Ver getting arrested. You've got 8 weeks of red candles for Pulse. We've got infighting happening with all the communities back and forth, and but for me, I'm good. When I look at all that other stuff, I put it into perspective, and like, well, it could be worse, I guess, right? So I'm doing okay.
Yeah, definitely could. A lot of weird stuff going on, and good point by you. Yeah, we got Roger Ver dealing with stuff. We got CZ dealing with stuff. We're going to get into that as well. Yeah, I'll acknowledge the poll question. So we did ask. Let me make sure my stuff's muted. Best PulseChain meme token in your opinion? HOA, the Tang Gang. We got P-Dye. Some people might be pissed I'm calling that a meme. Teddy Bear. And finally, DWD, Dick with Butt. I know what DJ Moonboy voted for. Yeah, we'll get into our personal thoughts on that in a little bit. But I thought those were probably the best four to be represented here. Early on, we got P-Dye leading the way at 57%. So I guess the people voting for it are admitting that it's a meme. I don't know. I just decided to throw it in there. Second place so far, Dick with Butt, barely over the Tang Gang. Well, actually, they're tied. And then Teddy Bear, nothing? You can tell B Roots doesn't watch our show. So, so that's where we're at right now. We'll check on that throughout the night. Let's start with this market right now, because we are seeing, again, it's not, for once, it isn't just PulseChain bleeding out of every orifice. Looks like Bitcoin has been as well over the last day. Now, we have, you and I, Ewok, have been talking about this for quite some time. We were talking about Bitcoin maybe going back into the 30Ks at some point. It's been so bullish and produced, been so good over the last couple of weeks that I don't know that we'll get that low again, but at least this kind of move at the very least was expected. So we are finally down here at 58K. Pretty customary, maybe even not big enough of a dip yet in the Bitcoin halving sell-off. We have ETH now below 3K, not by much. It's at 2970 at the moment. But we are seeing things bleed a bit. It was nice over the weekend. We saw ETH gaining back its ratio on BTC ever so much, which is what we really need for an altcoin season to run, and that's what we're really hoping for. But now it's kind of back where it's been, right at that 0.5, 0.49 number or something like that. So looking at Bitcoin anyway and this market overall, yeah, what do you make of this, Ewok? Because I know we've been kind of waiting for this dip here.
Yeah. So I think the average pullback was 38% after the halving, something like that. So, I mean, we still got a little way to go if it holds true. Someone said that it was mirroring more the 2017 halving, whenever it happened last, than the one in 2021. So, if you measure this move down, we're only 10% down. So, I mean, if we hold true and go to that 38%, geez, I mean, you're looking 40 grand.
So, which where we said, yeah.
So, I mean, it could, and there's some support levels in here, right here at this between, I guess it's 26 and, well, oh no, I'm sorry, that's wrong. That was the percentage. 38 and 40 is roughly where your next level of support would be if it goes through this 53,000. Because if it goes through this support that we're seeing right here back in February, where it kind of evened out a little bit, if it goes beyond that, it could really free fall. So yeah, I mean, it's not looking good, but it's looking normal. When I say it's not looking good, it's just good for price, but for normalcy and cycle wise, it's doing kind of what it probably should do.
Well, I just measured. So if we consider the recent top at right about 74K, which is about where it was, that a 38% would take us to about 46K. So I think with how well Bitcoin has performed, I could see it not getting down into the 30s at this point. That would be not that that's way off from 46,000, but I mean, I think that'd be a tad drastic, but it also was a tad bullish going up. I mean, nobody really expected, no one. If anybody that's telling you like, oh yeah, I mean, I saw an all-time high in Bitcoin coming before the halving this year. Nobody saw that. Nobody was calling for that. No. People would have said, in that range and higher, maybe the fall of this year, but people were not saying that before the halving.
And so, I didn't realize I measured from that last candle, not from the top where I should have measured. So that's on me. But yeah, this is another level in here between, like I said, between 44 and 47, 48 ish. And it does line up right with the 38%, puts it at 45.7. So,
yep, there you go. Yep, I like that. Grounded in Hex. Yes, permanent move to Wednesdays at 6:30, man. You got it for the show. Yeah, I think that's what we're looking at. And if we do see that, if we see a continued move down like this, I think this is really bullish for what the cycle is going to be overall. We've talked so much about left translated, right translated, super cycle. What are we going to see here? And a lot more people were calling for a left translated cycle because of that super bullish performance by Bitcoin at the first half of this year. But the more that we see this typical sell off and come down, and the longer it takes to get out of here and top off again, the better it is for this being a normal cycle, which we are in favor of. So, yeah, to your point, I mean, yeah, maybe not looking good in the short term as far as price going down, but looking good as far as like what you want this to look like overall from a health of the cycle perspective, right?
Well, it's looking good for the dollar cost averagers, because usually once this pulls back, you may not see prices like this again until the bottom of the very next cycle. So,
right.
On the way, you want to get it before it goes up, not after.
Yeah. But I'm enjoying this move. I don't know how much the rest of crypto is, but I mean, I think this is good for the market overall. So we'll continue to track that. But yeah, I think we'll probably see more of a sell off here over the next weeks and months. So,
well, I was looking at it in the terms of Ethereum too, and right now, it's looking like you got about 19.2 Ethereum per Bitcoin. So that is coming down as well, and it's, evening back out. That's kind of where we want to be. The strength of Ethereum coming back. Obviously, a lot of our value and things like that are on PulseChain are very similarly tied to the base value of Ethereum because of the things that are bridged over there. So, it is gaining some strength back. The dominance is pulling back as well. We're back to 53.8%, down from 57. So that's considerable as well. So just wanted to mention those things.
Old Chunk of Coal is feeling very bullish tonight on the stream. He's enjoying everything we're saying so far. So appreciate you. We want to see ETH obviously creep back up. I think as we see Bitcoin even out, things come down and things like that. Yeah, bad is sometimes good. That's the way it is. I think we're going to see ETH catch up and the altcoin market catch up because everybody's proclaiming ETH is dead and blah, 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 and short-sighted idiots and, whatever. So we'll see that bounce back, I think, in altcoins as well here eventually. So just got to wait for that. Let's take a look at this PulseChain ecosystem. We're in the midst of a bloodbath. It's one of those things where 50 weeks to shake out the weak hands. We talked about that. Matter of fact, I think we had a clip from last week's stream air today about it, and what that really means and people taking it too literally and stuff like that. We have hit 50 weeks now, basically, and we've seen a little bit of a dip here over the last couple of days. It's dipped with the rest of the market, but still, people not happy that prices are down. Sure. We actually saw a little bit of a move up. There's actually been extreme volatility here over today. I've just been watching. I mean, we have just been bouncing between almost hitting that for the pulse price, that 6 number flat, and then 6.5. It's just been bouncing back and forth. So it seems like there's a lot of big interested parties trying to do something at these levels right now. I don't know what that will ultimately lead to. I didn't think we were going to come down here. I thought we would hopefully stay at support. Jesus. Up at the 4 zeros and an 8 number. That has not happened. So now we're down basically at another level. So that's where we're at with Pulse right now. Pulse X is 75% down off of SAC rate. Scooped some up today. Incentive token just over $3. We have Hex pumped a little bit in the last couple hours. We're going to talk about why later, but at 8.7 tenths of a penny. And then EHEX is at 2 tenths of a penny or whatever, a little bit below that.
Yep.
So, do you want to pull up the pulse chart and then just kind of give your views on this recent price action? Because the start of this week is when we started to see some more major dippage and people getting upset with the price action again, even though this one has coincided with the rest of the market to a degree. So,
so here's that level that I drew a line on, several weeks ago and said, hopefully we can hold this. Well, it broke right through it, and the trend line that even Richard had shown on some of his charts, we broke through that too. So this could, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for price here. I think our next level of support could be an interesting one here. You got a lot of these candles that kind of tapped between 4 zeros and a 5, and 4 zeros and a 4. That could be our next stop level if we do. I don't mind it. I really don't mind it falling at this point because of how far it's gone already. The only thing I worry about is people getting liquidated with their loans and things like that. So just make sure that you're keeping your eye on the collateral levels that you've got. Make sure they're maintained, because it wouldn't take much for it to shoot down and hurt quite a few people. And we don't want you to, the idea of taking a loan is so you don't have to sell your crypto. But when you get liquidated like that, you lose it. So just be very careful. But the next levels, somewhere between 4 zeros and a 5 and a 4. So it's lost its strength. It's lost, I don't even have RSI on here, but it's just not looking good. Like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weekly red candles in a row. It's bound to do something. But again, just because that 50 weeks was said and it became the narrative, and
Right.
so many people were relying on it and nothing happened, so what? Might take a few more weeks to wash out a few more people that just don't believe. And that's how markets stay strong. You get the people out that don't believe, so that when it does go up, you don't have a bunch of sellers just looking to 2 or 3x their money. I would rather see them get out now, and it can't hurt the price later.
Yeah, I agree with that. And again, as we're seeing, there's a lot of tokens that have done. I mean, there's obviously there's exceptional ones that have done really, really well here and there, but a lot of like maybe cycle 2 coins and stuff like that have done like a 3x, maybe a 4x off their lows, 2, 3, 4x or something like that, and are back down getting towards ugly prices now with this recent dip. So, I mean, it is one of those things. And I know everybody on like every channel that talks about PulseChain and maybe some of these other tokens are saying this, but a lot of us really dependent upon ETH. And I don't mean that just like, oh, the sacrifice wallet like bought a bunch of ETH. The altcoins are tied to ETH. So as long as ETH continues to not do well against BTC, which it has not for a little while now, we're just not going to see any kind of good action. You know what I mean? And that can mean varying things, as far as price across different tokens and stuff like that. But bottom line, yeah, we're in a bull market. Yeah, dips, in my opinion, are for buying, and I definitely want to be buying at these prices and stuff. We are waiting on ETH though. So until it starts to, we need, even though we've seen like memes and stuff, and people may say that, like we've already seen a lot of memes take off in this bull market and everything. We still need like massive retail back. Like, I mean, I don't think we're in the territory of like, oh yeah, I was walking in the store today and my buddy, like you're not hearing a lot of like real life stories of crypto stuff. This has been like a Bitcoin only run so far, or primarily Bitcoin. Yeah.
Well, another thing that I forgot to mention is with all these prices, the one thing we forget about are all these meme coins that have launched that have been tied to Pulse. People are selling their Pulse for the meme coins. And that is definitely not helping the value of it either. So, there's a lot of that that's being caused by the flood of all these meme tokens that are paired with Pulse. As they kind of do seemingly well, it's because they're exchanging out of Pulse and getting into that one. So, that has a lot to do with these last 4 candles, especially.
Yeah, I think that could have something to do with it, but it also is bullish. It's good for PulseX too, because people doing all that trading is obviously helping the buy and burn and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, you're probably right that people are selling out of Pulse to buy memes, but I do think the memes overall are a net positive though, because I think even if we aren't seeing, I'm not saying you're not saying that, but I think that even if we aren't necessarily seeing this right now, later on in the bull market, you are going to see. I mean, look at what happened with Solana, and I'm not saying that the same thing's going to happen to PulseChain, but that some people from retail will be led into here with some of the memes. You know what I mean? I think that's going to happen. And then if that's the way some people get in the door or whatever, and then they actually understand real crypto at some point, or understand like the actual stuff that's being built here, cool. Or even if they don't, we got the PulseX buy and burn working for us, and we're all hopefully DCing at PulseX. So
I mean, I guess it is a cost of entry. However, you've got to rely on these things sticking around long enough too, without hurting people too badly. You mentioned PulseX, but a lot of these things are being launched on 9mm and 9-inch, and that's kind of exclusive until there's a trading pair created for them on PulseX. So it's not helping the buy and burn as much either when they're launched exclusively on those exchanges.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, I do think that long term overall that we will see that bring more action to PulseChain for sure. And yeah, things are just down right now. I mean, it's across the industry, and I think that we're going to see bullish action later. And I understand it. I mean, a lot of people are like insane at this point. It's like, how can I keep waiting for this? Blah, 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 blah. But I mean, it's one of those things where we say this all the time, but it seems like many people just do not have a lot going on outside of watching the portfolio every day. And that doesn't mean reset expectations. Oh yeah, be happy with a 5x or something. I'm not saying anything like that or trying to gaslight anybody or anything. But it comes down to just having a better mental state about things and being able to be more patient, and also realizing, especially like you can speak to this, Ewok, too, having been around multiple cycles, how parabolic moves can go out of nowhere, you know, and if you're not able to sit here right now, and I know it feels horrible. Like trust me, I feel that more than anybody. Like if I feel like I'm not progressing at something and I'm just stagnant, which markets can make you feel like, because you can't directly affect it. It's a market. You're just a participant. When I feel like that and I'm just sitting on my hands and there's nothing else I can do, I'm just like, you want to take action. And it's so hard to resist that, you know?
Yeah. Well, the only action you should really be taking is dollar cost averaging in. You know, don't be a old chunk of coal and sell at these prices. So
yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, it's tough, and that's why I think these streams are good. You know, I saw other people talking about this the other day. I mean, not just for PulseChain, but like crypto in general. I mean, other people that are going through the dips and stuff like that and holding. It's just it's that whole misery loves company thing, like commiserating to get through it together and stuff like that. You know, call it what you will, but cope can help. You know.
Yep.
Okay, appreciate that, old chunk of coal. Appreciate that. So yeah, DCA, DJ Moonboy says for sure. I did a little bit of that today. So I did a little bit of that today. And as our conversation at the fire the other night, we'll probably see like a 25% dip since I did a little DCA today. So we'll be headed back down. Okay. Hey, you know what? Let's just go right into the topic of the memes on PulseChain doing well, since you just kind of brought it up right there. And I know, you know, for anybody that's like a newer viewer or anything like that, Ewok is, you know, more of a day one hexagon. He's a maxi. You know, this guy, he doesn't have room for meme coins. He's not going to buy dick with butt. Me and DJ and Moonboy have tried to get him to do so. It's just not happening. This is a hex guy right here. Now he likes his PulseChain, likes his PulseX. I think he has a couple of other tokens. I'll let him speak on that. I am a little bit more of a meme boy, and I will buy memes every now and then. But it is very interesting. I just want to say that a lot of these meme tokens are holding up really well against PulseChain while we're having this I almost said dip. Dick with butt doing very, very well. The Tang Gang doing well. PDI at Atropa, that whole ecosystem. I don't know about Bear as much. It's been struggling a bit, but they've all been holding up really, really well. And you know, it's like, what does that mean, or what can be said for that? I know Ewok, what you were saying you take out of that is like, oh, people are selling their Pulse to buy it, which may be true. In some cases, you got to get Pulse to get in.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good sign that tokens like that are, you know, worthless memes in the eyes of some, the fact that they're holding up well against the you know, transacting token of the ecosystem, I do think it bodes well for how things are going to go in this market eventually. I mean, I think at some point that all has to pour into Pulse, and we're going to see it start to come up. Again, the buy and burn is up over 4% now for PulseX, which is just insane. So I do think that stuff is going to be there. I just think that it's going to be later in the bull market, and people are underrating what can happen 1 year from now, a year and a half from now. So yeah, what do you? I want to ask you that. Like, what are your opinion on like some of the memes? I know you already talked about it a little bit, but like the fact that they are holding up so well, because I think it's impressive, and I do think it's good. We also see, I should shout out the 9-inch guys too, because their stuff's been doing pretty well lately.
Yeah. Well, so I think what's causing that is, and I'll give them credit. The HOA guys have been harping on this for a long time, and it's placing liquidity. You know, when you buy your tokens, place a little bit of liquidity. If you want to take some profits, you know, set your levels and then kind of DCA out as the price goes up. That way you're not hurting the price by selling. And, you know, they're teaching that over there. So, you know, you got to give them credit for that. And I think a lot of other people are catching on to some of these methods of placing liquidity and you know, it strengthens everything. When you get some liquidity in there, you get some coins, and you want to make a little bit of profit, and even just the fees. If you want to do a full range of liquidity and not a certain range, if you're doing full range, you know, you're making fees on a lot of the trading. So you're able to take some profits that way just by capturing, revenue from the trading that's happening. And people are happy with that. They're using some of those to either put back into the token. They'll harvest some of their fees that they're getting and put it back in. So there's just a lot of little ways to hold the prices of these up. You got a lot of sub communities. They're pretty passionate about their individual projects, and that's another thing too. But in the meantime, it kind of fractured the whole community, and it's kind of probably what happened with Ethereum. But when Ethereum launched, it wasn't. It was a little different, right? You didn't have this core Hex community that ended up sacrificing for Pulse, and then this whole thing, and then it kind of fractured a little bit into now I'm a Pulse maxi. I'm not a Hex maxi anymore. I'm Pulse, and then you had the Pulse X maxis, and then so you had a three-way fracture there. And then you had all these other little things that kind of were created because obviously, founder envy, and I want to create my own thing. And so all of these other things splintered off of those. And it just, the way that it fractured out, there's a lot of energy that's getting split now many, many ways rather than focusing on one thing that we had before. And I think that's one of the reasons why Hex pumped like crazy, was because there was only one token. There was 100,000 or 120,000 people focusing on one thing. Well, the community has grown a little bit, but because of the way that it's splintered out, there's just not enough mass to keep everything up. And it's just a lot slower, but it is more organic, right? You've got these people in these little communities that are onboarding people into their community, which is all good for the overall ecosystem. I still believe that Hex and Pulse X are extremely undervalued for what we have. I mean, obviously Pulse is too, but it's a layer one that's going to take some time to build on. And as these outside people start, love them, hate them, whatever, but Ben Armstrong gets a lot of voices out to outside people. And I did see a comment from one person that said something like, "Why did you launch on PulseChain? You almost have to be a technical nerd to be over there." Which is kind of a compliment. It's a backhanded compliment, but
right.
Obviously we're the nerds over here because we're smart enough to work it over, to get things over onto this chain. It's just going to take a little bit more work. Once Coast comes back, it's going to make it a lot easier to onboard right into the chain, and I think eventually it's going to be probably dependent on what happens in October at the hearing. But I really think the walls will start coming down. People will understand that, we're all in this crypto game together here. And this guy that's fighting for everybody's rights, should be at least appreciated with his product. So who the first big name is that picks up PulseChain, well, that's yet to be seen. And then, it's a ways away, but something else that I've seen is what Dipcatcher's doing, and he's showing all these other chains, hey, this is how much value you guys have in your wallets that is over here. Pretty clever. If I I agree with what you said earlier. It's good to get the word out there, and I don't see too many people doing that, and I was happy to see what he did. What you thought the same thing?
Yeah, for anybody who's missed that, Dipcatcher's been doing a cool thing where he's basically tweeting out like the different entities. I think there was an FTX one. There was I'm already forgetting the other ones, but
Binance, Crypto.com.
Yeah, Crypto.com. Just basically different exchanges and entities showing them like the value of the tokens that they would have got snapshot onto PulseChain and tagging them. And it's in the millions. Like it's millions of dollars of value. Now, to us that
hundreds of millions for some.
Some of that, like to us, maybe like, holy shit, that's insane. And maybe it's I don't want to say a drop in the bucket, but not as big to those entities, but it still is an amount that you would think you would want to acknowledge and claim at the very least, you know, even if you come dump them or whatever, like come to the chain and see what's going on, you know. But yeah, kudos. I know people have like shit on Dipcatcher for like, oh, you know, he did Gophers on Solana. And look, that isn't his fault that thing has been a disaster price wise. I don't think that was a result of hype, everybody wanting to get in on the ground floor of Gophers on Solana, and too many people got in, so they dumped. That's what happened. Same thing that happened with the PulseChain sacrifice, frankly. So, you know, I'm not blaming him for the price action on that. I think that's just the way that the thing went, basically. But
yeah, it's still early. We don't know. You know, we don't know what it's going to do at the end of the run. So,
yeah. I want to. I tell you what. Let me just do this shout out, and then we'll go to the Ben Armstrong thing because you just brought it up. But if you guys are enjoying the stream so far, please do. We have 16 likes. I'm sorry, but that's BS. Come on. There's more of you guys here. Support the channel. Support Real DeFi. We support all of you. We appreciate you being here. Wall to Wall TV. We even love him. I would spend a holiday with Wall to Wall TV. I would have a beer with the guy, you know, whatever he wants, whatever he deems appropriate. I know he's a good guy deep down, and I know he loves the channel. So go ahead and hit the like. We appreciate you guys being here. We do this every Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Looking at the poll real quick of the memes on PulseChain. So what is the best PulseChain meme token? And they are flying. We got PDI number 1, 35%. And then it's kind of watered down after that. We got Dick with Butt at 26%, Teddy Bear at 23%, and the Tang Gang dead last at 16%. I guess that's because, I mean, Dick with Butt is from the Tang Gang, so understandable. But I got to side with the Dick with Butt people. I think that's the way to go, and I think that is, man, P-Die too, though. What would you say, Ewok? I mean, where are you? I think I know where you'd be here, but where are you at?
Out of those 4?
Yeah.
Man,
it's got to be P-Die for you.
I think P-Die. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it's got the most chance of getting gains. You know, listen, meme coins are meme coins, and they can all run for absolutely no reason. So, yeah, it's really just, it's hard to say.
But is it a meme coin, though? I think that's why you are choosing it, though, because is it like it's, I don't think it's the true definition necessarily of a meme. I mean, I guess you could still say that.
Right
but
now,
there's like, but there's a narrative where people have connected some pretty, you know, legitimate seeming dots around it. It's not purely just, hey, this picture of a dick with butt's funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
But I don't know.
Well, I mean, if there is some actual use case to it, and we can, and if there are the mechanics that are really out there, like that, you know, we've heard, you know, I think there's definitely more to it, and it wouldn't be, but as of right now, it's still a meme. There's still a story behind it. So kind of what most meme coins are, right? There's a story that holds the price up, you know, until it becomes something other than just a story. Then I would call it a meme.
How would you describe the dick with butt story? Tell me that story.
Stupid.
Maybe DJ Moo Boy can help us with that one.
It's
interesting stuff
with a butt with a dick, and it's I don't know. Whatever. It's funny. Nice, it's entertaining. It's but that's about it. I don't get it.
Okay. Well, I own some, and I hope it does well. It continues to do well.
I hope. Listen, I don't wish that anybody's coin doesn't do well just because I don't like it. I hope everybody is successful. Everybody can, you know, pull some money out when they need it, and I hope all their coins do fabulous. So don't take that the wrong way.
We got you. So yeah, the Ben Armstrong thing, just to touch on it quick, and then we'll move on to other topics. But so he launches the Bro token on Pulse, which looks like it's kind of commemorating his friendship with Richard Hart. Now, I don't mean that they're not friendly in any way. I mean, we've seen Richard actually was in his studio. He like hosted the show one time, correct? I believe. Or yeah,
he was there. They went to a concert together. They've hung out. So yeah, they're technically friends, I guess.
There was at least a one-night stand bromance anyway, with a concert involved. So that was good. Maybe some dick with butt involved there. I don't know. I don't know. They did hang out, went to shows together. Yeah. yeah, I guess what do you make of this? I mean, as usual, the token launches and like plunges down pretty quickly after it. I don't think it's Ben's fault. I don't think it's really anybody's fault. It's just like hype. It's the same thing I just said with the Gophers on Solana thing. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, let's get in, and people get in, and it drops like 70% or whatever it is down so far.
Well,
Yeah,
I'll tell you whose fault it is. It's the way they distributed the coins. I think there was a large percent, 25% of the tokens were airdropped to the Ben holders, the holders of his token. And because a lot of those guys, might like BitBoy, but not like Richard, they dumped it. And I think that's where a lot of this price volume on the downside comes from, are all the holders that got the free airdrops. And there was quite a bit, so I think it'll settle down once you get a lot of that selling out of the way. And if he continues to market it, it's going to have that rounded off bottom. Let's take a look at the chart. I had it bookmarked here for us to see.
Well, I would definitely be interested in it, at a point where it looks like it's totally died, or that it's, at the bottom and rounding off, like you said.
So, I mean, it's starting to round off. It had a hell of a run up, obviously, when it launched. I think it did what, 98, over 100,000%. So
could you do like 4 hour or 1 hour just to see, like, maybe it'll see a little bit more detail here? Okay. All right.
So you're getting that rounded off pattern a little bit. It's tamed down. Obviously there was a lot of selling, and unfortunately there's really nothing as far as resistance levels to look at. But so if this continues chopping sideways, that'll be pretty healthy. Might be I hate to say it, but might be a decent entry point, because I think the majority of the sell-off happened with all of these people that realized they had the free coins, and that's what caused that. And it's only been a couple days, so I would.
Yeah, this is very, very small time frame. What if you click on it against Pulse up top there? Just curious how different that looks. Yeah, so a little bit more drastic looking down. Which actually that it's very similar. That actually is the one I would want to look at more to see as it kind of gets to the bottom and rounds off before getting in. But I'm definitely in no rush. I mean, this is only a few days old. I would like this to just kind of, the attention to go away from it.
It launched on the 26th. So yeah, less than a week old, pretty much,
Yeah. So that's where we're at with Brocoin. I am glad that he's doing it. I mean, BitBoy, we've talked about him many times. I mean, like, love him or hate him. Yes, the guy's gotten himself in some weird, questionable situations and stuff like that. Seems to be in the new arc right now, which is the I don't know what her name is, but the woman that he's with now, doing stuff for PulseChain. And kudos to him, for starting the PulseChain podcast that he has. I know Corey Costa has been on there, I think, a number of times already. I think I forget who else has been on. Maybe Gary Woods. I don't know if Rags has been on. I may just be making all that up, but I know Corey's.
Coffee.
Coffee's been on. I didn't know that.
So they pre-recorded quite a few of these, and I think what he's going to do is put one PulseChain episode out every Sunday. Is what I had heard. So there's several of them that are pre-recorded, and it's going to be a PulseChain PulseChain centric episode of his thing. So I know Coffee's. I don't think it's been released yet, but it should be the next one out.
Yeah, RG3 is what I was going to say. I saw he was on there too. So, I mean, kudos to Ben for doing something. I think it was a good move to do something that was purely focused on PulseChain like that, maybe instead of like trying to mix it into everything else, just because it is such a, everybody's very obsessive about it within the community and stuff like that.
Well, and we know that he sacrificed for it. So obviously he is thinking about his bag as well,
Right.
If it wasn't PulseChain, it was PulseX, but either way, it's still pretty much tied together. If one does well, the other's going to do well too. So,
Right.
yep.
Yeah, so glad for Ben to be along for the ride. We'll see how everything works out here as we get into the bull market. But yeah, bro token, we'll continue to monitor that. Let's see where to go next. Let's see, because we have, boy, there's a lot of interesting stuff here. Let's go to this. I think we do need to touch on this. So this was a big deal that happened over the weekend. Richard Hart tweeted about it a little bit. Of course, because anytime he has the opportunity to dunk on something that is not working, he's going to. But this is bad. So on Saturday, Ethereum L2s, layer 2s, stopped withdrawals entirely. So I don't know how many of them it were. If it would have been like all of the L2s, like Arbitrum, Optimism, stuff like that.
There were several.
Yeah, but withdrawals were totally halted. The chains were paused, basically. And Richard kind of went, I may have a bookmark tweet, I forget, but he kind of went on a tirade of why L1s are so much better, and that really is the consensus, because this kind of thing can happen with layer 2s. I mean, to be in a situation where you have money that you've got on the chain, and maybe it's a lot because you're transacting on there a lot, and withdrawals are just paused. You cannot get your money out suddenly out of nowhere. This isn't something that's going to happen with layer 1s. It's definitely not something they're going to see on PulseChain. But what do you make of this? Because, I mean, this is a big thing, and I think it should be a dire warning for retail investors that are just, coming in here, aping into some of these different ecosystems and have money just floating around on all these L2s, buying meme coins and stuff. You could have things trapped, for a period of time, with no way of getting them out. So what did you make of this story?
Yeah, I didn't realize that Base was a layer 2.
I don't think I did either. Yeah.
I just didn't, I just thought it was its own chain. I thought it was an L1. But yeah, I'm going to pull this up because it is important to show how many of them cannot withdraw.
Yeah, it looked like a long list.
It's a very long list. So I don't know if you can see that or not.
Base is one of those chains that
Base is on there.
Well, I was going to say it hasn't done as well as Solana, but like it has had a narrative already. There's been tons of meme coins on it and a lot of like fake volume and stuff. And, people have been doing a lot on there. So.
But you've got OP Mainnet, Base, Blast, Mantle, Starknet, Manta, ZK Sync, Era, Linnea, and Metis.
You missed Arbitrum, right? Yeah, well, I guess I said Arbitrum.
But Arbitrum was not it wasn't a cannot withdraw. It was a self-proposed. So I'm not sure exactly what that means.
Okay.
But either way, the exit window was 2 days. If you look here at that, so still at 2 days to get out of a layer 2, that's a long time. And I remember back in the day whenever people were trying to avoid some of the gas costs, and I think it was Arbitrum that they were buying and selling Hex on, and I remember one of the first people was Hexologist or RG3, and they were sending stuff over and waiting for it to get back, and it was just taking hours. It took over a day, and that was back then. That was when the prices were going up. There was a lot of money that they were waiting for, and be like, "Holy shit! This is bad. It's taking a long time." I remember that whole thing going down,
right?
But yeah, it just goes to show you where unfortunately, some of these people are going to have to get burnt to realize that we need to focus on things that are real DeFi, things you can't shut off. And eventually the meme mania, the early, whatever it is, will die off, and, they'll lose enough money to actually care about where their money is and how it works. Still to this day, I can't believe Solana is as strong as it is, right? Just because of that on-off thing that it just gets shut off whenever they feel like it. And it baffles me to think that people put the amount of value in there that they do, knowing that could happen at any time. It's just, I don't get it. I don't understand it, but I don't know. It's a different breed, I guess. I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, like you were just saying, 2 days in crypto. I mean, depending upon what it is you're holding, and if people are kind of degenning out on some of those chains, I mean that is an eternity, depending upon what you're trying to do. Yeah, and for that to be a risk is just not good at all. So yeah, it'll have to be a caution to people. That happened on Saturday. Yeah, and I will say, like, the only time I deal with any of them is I do use Arbitrum 1 occasionally when I'm using that Spark Swap bridge to PulseChain. But I mean, I'm on that chain for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? That's about as long as,
in and out.
Yeah. So
we could post the I forgot he mentioned the Big Mac chart too. That was pretty funny.
Oh yeah. The price of the Big Mac for the last. What was the amount of years? Like, how long was that for?
It says, interesting to note that Big Macs and houses both went up 2.5x from 2000 till now. But some of these early pictures of here, let's see if we can.
Early pictures of the Big Macs. What quality of the Big Mac we getting?
15-cent hamburger and
right,
19-cent cheeseburgers.
Right.
But it's pretty funny how the Big Mac chart, the Big Mac index, is a real thing.
It actually is called the Big Mac index.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Here.
All right. Let's see it.
Check it out.
See this
Big Mac index versus the CPI.
Okay.
This is the chart. It is a real thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's beating it pretty badly. Wow. Interesting. Yeah. I wonder if do we have a Whopper index or a
I don't know.
I don't know what the Wendy's one is called. Interesting. Well, there you go. The Big Mac beating the average CPI. So interesting to note. Yeah, I saw RH tweet about burgers a lot the last couple of days. So are you a Big Mac guy or are you a Whopper guy, Ewok? If you had
I'm a quarter pounder with cheese guy. Not a big fan of Big Mac.
McDonald's. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not a big fast food. I don't like fast food.
No. If I had to pick, I'd pick Burger King. But
I would probably, if I had to pick a burger, it would probably be. Yeah.
Big Macs are way smaller and way shittier, though. Yeah, he's probably right. I would eat a Whopper.
Dairy Queen burgers are better than both of them.
You think so? I don't know. Okay. All right, let's get off the burger thing. I like it, but there's too much other stuff to talk about. But yeah, that is very interesting. Nonetheless, the Big Mac index. So, let's take a look at this. So I'm just deciding what's the most important thing to get to here. So the SEC in trouble again. So the crypto firm Consensys now sues the SEC and asks the court to declare that ETH is not a security. Yet another huge group getting on suing the SEC fund here, because we've seen, I forget the name of it, the Crypto Alliance from Texas last week. And another entity I'm forgetting as well. But Consensys actually made a tweet about this over the weekend. And this is a really big one. And I'm so glad that they're focusing on ETH and talking about getting the SEC to actually give what their opinion is about it, because that's the big thing that they don't do. We all know that we have video of Gary Gensler clearly saying that ETH is not a security at MIT, but now he does the finger, shake thing when he's questioned on, the floor of Congress. But here, I'll send you this tweet from Consensys if you wanted to get it up, Ewok, but I will just read now what we have here. And Consensys is CONS. What is it? CONSENSYS. Yeah, so they say today Consensys filed a lawsuit against the SEC. The goal behind this is to ensure that Ethereum remains a vibrant and indispensable blockchain platform and to preserve access for countless developers, market participants, and institutions who have a stake in the world's second largest blockchain. We took this step for two very basic reasons. The SEC should not be allowed to arbitrarily expand its jurisdiction to include regulating the future of the internet by wrongly labeling ETH a security, and the SEC's reckless approach to bringing chaos to developers, market participants, institutions, and nations who are building or already managing critical systems running on Ethereum, which is very true. I mean, there's this huge infrastructure already built out And we're just like in limbo as to whether this thing is a commodity or security. They go on to say Ethereum isn't just about information being permissionless, it's about human ingenuity being permissionless. We encourage others who feel equally aggrieved by the SEC's aggressive regulatory actions to make their voices heard. At Consensys, we believe that advancing adoption of blockchain platforms like Ethereum will help reshape and enhance how future generations will manage economic, financial, social, political, and technological systems. Creating a more equitable, transparent, and innovative world. Our mission is now under threat from an ideologically driven regulator, the SEC. We have time and time again witnessed the current SEC contradict itself with ever-changing views on blockchain, consistently mischaracterizing this technology and what is built on it as a shallow and doomed investment scheme rather than as the breakthrough technology that it is. And it is time for the industry. It's time we stood up for ourselves. Our action today is intended to protect the Ethereum ecosystem as well as the entirety of the extended decentralized protocol ecosystem. So I really like that they're actually attacking this from the Ethereum perspective, because that to me is the key to so many other things. Yeah. Like if the SEC, which they're not going to, but if we got an actual clear ruling, which a judge would make basically over the SEC, because they're not going to do it, that ETH is not a security, I think it would bring a lot of clarity to some people. Let's face it, people are going to buy it and do things on it either way. They don't really care what the SEC has to say, but it does stifle innovation. It does chase people out. And it's like we've talked about before, that kind of Operation Choke Point where like, oh, if there's any doubt cast over it at all, some of the weaker people will just never participate because we're not providing any clarity. So, what do you make of this lawsuit? It's good to see more and more really big players proactively going after the SEC. We see Coinbase do it and all these other entities. So
no, I mean, it's great. It's great. And again, we're looking for clarity. That's all we want them to do. You can't say one thing one day and then wake up and decide, well, if we say this today, we can go after these people too, And like I said, I can't wait till the judges just start throwing stuff of the SEC out because of their ability to set standards and make decisions and call stuff for what it is. I'm happy. I'm very glad. We need more people like this, and then you end up seeing the Bitcoin maxis say, well, of course it's a security. They're in the mind frame of everything else is a security. Right. Bitcoin's the only one that isn't. And, unfortunately, they've already decided Ripple wasn't. So if Ripple isn't, there's so many other things that aren't as well. And, I think they forget about that. I'm happy to see it. I wish these guys well. And, once more people realize we're all in this together, this is going to be huge for everything. Once we get a ruling, it'll be, I think, more clear for people to move on. You've already got the ETH ETFs started. Where did they start? I forget what country they started.
Hong Kong? Was it Hong Kong? I saw
Humberto
brought that up earlier. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw Humberto in the chat here. He showed
welcome back, Humberto.
Caught us live. So I mean, again, we need clarity. We need them to just start deciding stuff. Make this quick. Stop dragging stuff out, because that's the problem. These things take forever. No decision is made. And in the meantime, you got 10 other things that get piled up because they can't make a decision. So, more clarity, more of this nonsense will go away. And it'll be a lot smoother of a ecosystem for everybody.
Well, and we say it every week really on the show when we talk about the SEC. I mean, we're getting to the point where like they've made so much news in losing, made so much news in their corruption, people coming after them proactively, that like judges are not immune to seeing that. We've talked about that before. Yeah. There's no way for them to go to like a safe room when they're overseeing these cases involving the SEC and not know what they're doing in the public eye, it's one thing because a lot of these judges, like they may have an idea of what Coinbase is or what happens on an exchange or something like that. But I bet a lot of them don't thoroughly understand DeFi in and out necessarily. I mean, some may, especially one like, I think it's Peggy Kuo that's going to be in RH's case, but like, they're not they'll have more of an idea of what the SEC is overall than what some of these crypto things are. And they're going to be just be seeing that the SEC has been suffering, hardcore in these crypto cases. And they're just beginning to look more and more hasty. We posted a video the other day. The judge from Utah in the debt box case referred to them, basically just said that they complete overreach and power hungry, and I forget his exact words, but essentially that in reference to the SEC. So,
right.
That's what's most important, is that the justice system and the judges are looking into these things and actually caring about them doing their job, which it seems like many of them are, and they're siding, for the most part, with the side of crypto, not the SEC. And great point by you, Ewok. Like, if XRP is not a security, what's going to be a security at the end of the day?
Yeah, because they have the company, they have the building, they have the CEO, they have all of that stuff. And if they aren't, man, a lot of DeFi seems to me would get, I don't want to say a free pass, but I don't know how you can say that they are and Ripple's not. So,
right.
Yeah. We'll have to see how it goes.
I am with you. Yes, DJ and Moonboy, for everybody, smack the like. We appreciate all of you guys being here. Let's see what topic we're going to get into next. So I know that this isn't everybody's favorite topic, and we'll kind of hit on it quick, but it's extremely important, I think. So the FOMC took place today. The Fed met today for their, I think it'd be about their third meeting already this year. They stood pat as far as interest rates go, which is what many people thought would happen. We definitely weren't thinking a cut was going to happen at this point. But we're at the point now, and I didn't totally read everything that Jerome Powell said after the announcement that they were not pivoting or anything like that. But the sentiment has just, we already going into that, people were not expecting rate cuts and a pivot until September of this year. Prior to that, Ewok, I mean, you remember we were talking on the show for the longest time that we were thinking this meeting here right now, or maybe the one in June or towards the end of summer, would be when we would see a pivot. We're now to the point with some of the comments from Jerome Powell, the fact that the CPI data came in a little bit hotter than expected a few weeks ago. So the Fed is talking hawkish and all these things. Now there's only an expectation of one rate cut in all of 2024. So we would be looking at, assuming there's a meeting in December, which I believe there usually is, that not happening until then. So that's 6 months of expectations from you, I, and the market, really, that thought that we would be seeing a pivot by middle of 2024, that maybe we won't even see one in 2024. Which I think makes things really interesting and tends to line up kind of with what we try to illustrate at the top of the show about the Bitcoin price, crypto prices overall. Now that we're seeing Bitcoin pull back, everybody was geared up for this, like, left translated cycle, things are getting bullish early. I think this macro stuff can only help lend to, we will see a smoother, longer cycle, especially if we're not going to see a pivot yet, because, we talk about it like a pivot is usually an initial bearish event. Even though it's bullish maybe overall, it is bearish for 30 to 60 days after the actual pivot takes place.
Right.
So, what do you make of that? The fact that we could only get one rate cut this year, if any, and how that may line up as far as macro and the crypto market over the next really 2 years, because I think that's how long it's going to really matter. So,
well, I still feel the same way about it. I think I agree with you. I think it will help elongate the cycle a little bit. But I want to throw this back at you, and I don't know if you saw this or not.
No.
But the U.S. Treasury also today announced the first buyback operation since 2002. So essentially, they're launching a buyback program of all the liquidity in the Treasury market. So I don't know a whole lot about what this will do to the banking supply. Like, I'm not a financial dude like that at all, but a lot of these people are calling this very similar to a bank buyback because, or a bank bailout, because they're buying up all this stuff that they are afraid people are going to dump. I guess it's, well, I'll just read it to you here. It says, during this period, the Treasury plans to hold weekly liquidity support buybacks of up to $2 billion per operation, with up to $500 million allocated for TIPS, which are Treasury inflation-protected securities. This initiative aims to ensure the Treasury market remains the deepest and most liquid in the world, addressing concerns about market functioning and resilience. So it shows the schedule of what they're buying back, all these different securities and things like that. So does this mean anything to you? Someone had equated it to a quantitative tightening, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like it could go along those lines, and like him referring to it as a bank bailout. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could see that being a continuation of what the Fed is already talking about here. So
they're afraid to raise rates, so they're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it could coincide. And definitely have something to do with it. I don't think that they're planning on doing anything for quite some time. And like, even though, we talk a lot about like Jerome Powell sometimes will purposely, I think, try to sound a little bit more hawkish than he really means to be. I mean, now we're at the point where people have been expecting rate cuts and a pivot for quite some time. So for him to still sound this hawkish now, I think is like, they are serious about not doing anything for a little while here. And they, anticipated for inflation to be down further than when it was. I forget what the exact number was a couple of weeks ago when it came out, but it was just a bit higher than they expected. So whether that number's even real, but
who knows? And I love how they all say, well, the jobs are up, man. Jobs are up. Well, jobs are up because people can't afford shit. So they've had to get a second job. That's why the jobs are up. It's not because the market's so hot and things are going great. It's because people can't afford stuff with one income. They've had to get a second job. So, that's a big part of that as well.
Yeah. And I was going to throw this in. I mean, this is more of I don't know if I want to call it a fluff piece, because I don't know how much it surprises any of us, but I was going to mention this a couple of weeks ago if we were going to get into the Fed and Jerome Powell, but James O'Keefe, formerly of Project Veritas, but now does his own thing with, I forget, it's OMG, O'Keefe Media Group or something like that.
He's that undercover guy.
Yeah. So, and it's always like, well, I'm not even going to get into that, but it's always a date setting for some reason between two people. It's just funny how it works out. It's like James O'Keefe in a blonde wig fools somebody or whatever. But they did a whole thing with Jerome Powell, and I was excited to see it. Like, I don't know what it was going to be, but long and short of it was, and usually his stuff is great, but this one was more kind of just like, a Fed staffer admits what we already know, that Jerome Powell wants to cement his own legacy and cares about himself and his own politics and protecting Joe Biden, hates Trump, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, no shit. I mean, I don't think there were any of us that doubted any of that. I mean, that's kind of just the modus operandi of like all these politicians, really. He's out to save himself. But that said, even though it's like, no shit, really, it's also like, this is an unelected group of people who are in charge of the monetary policy of our country. It's one thing, like, if the president is somebody that you don't like, I mean, they have Congress to go through and stuff like that, but these guys control the money. Nobody voted for them at all, and we have no idea what their motives are or anything. So while I already kind of suspected the stuff that O'Keefe said in that piece, I think it was still cool that they did that anyway. But I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, but I mean,
no, not really. I didn't see any of it. So I mean, these guys are all looking to cement their own legacy. It's kind of, status quo for all of them. And, being on one side or the other, they're going to try to protect the guy that put them in there, and obviously say that they hate the other guy that hopefully comes in.
Yeah, and Hex Girl, money is the primary cause of it. Printing money is the primary cause of inflation, but it's essentially they can't stop doing it. They just can't stop doing it. Like, basically, the country is so effed, for lack of a better term, at this point financially, that they get to a point where there is no other option, and they're always going to do it. And that's why everybody that is in crypto. Loves being in crypto if they really understand how money in this country works right now, because they're never going to stop printing. Like, they can say all these things, like, we're really serious about the debt, we're going to tighten things and things like that. at the end of the day, they're going to print money. They're going to bail people out. They're going to print money because they don't know what else to do. And that's why
they find other ways to do it because it's so mismanaged. I think that's the best way to put it. The economy is so mismanaged that they try to give too much money to too many people that doesn't exist. And you debase the value. I mean, look at the spending power over the last 50 years. That's what it's more about. It's not that the prices of things have gone up. It's that the value of the dollar has gone down because there is so much of it injected in because they've got to pay so many people off to do so many different things that the money supply is just so overwhelming. It's not hard to get. That's why you see the price of gold going up and all these cryptos going up. Not to mention the value of the dollar going down. It's a pendulum that helps each other swing. But yeah, it's the debasing of the actual value of the dollar is really what the main cause.
They've kicked the can so far down the road at this point. There's just no going back. There's just absolutely no going back. It's kind of like, just take it to the individual level. Like if there's somebody who's been living a life where it's like they have an expensive car that they actually can't afford and they have like a $500 a month car payment and like a house they can't really afford and then they lose their job or whatever. It's like they refuse to downgrade anything. Like that's the general American. Like I don't think many of us are like that because we're kind of more right-minded about money and stuff like that. But most people are not living below their means. Most people are grossly in debt, think that just because the car is outside in their, parking spot that they own it, even though they don't own the house that they live in. I mean, mortgages are fine. I mean, as long as it's a low interest rate. But I mean, I think people are like, this is the custom of life that I have. This is what I'm going to maintain. And there's no way I'm going to go below that. And it's like, all right, well, you're screwed, dude. I mean, you will have no life if you keep trying to maintain this. So, yeah, that's kind of where the money printing policy is at. And that's why I'd rather be in crypto than holding fiat currency at this point. So yeah. Anywho, good conversation there. Let's wrap up on this Ewok because I have somebody kind of calling for me here in the background here, I think shortly. So I wanted to, and we have a couple other things. There's some stuff that we can push next week, but I do think we have to talk about this. So new product protocol created for Hex Flex from Power City. Similar to other things Power City has done before and Liquid Loans as well. I know you kind of already have the skinny on it. And some people may be hearing like, I saw some tweets earlier like, hey, this is finally fixed Hex or like an upgrade to Hex that, has, made it worthwhile again or whatever. And we did see Hex actually pump pretty decent relative to the rest of the ecosystem over the last few hours. Yeah, it's up 12% in the last day. Everything else is down slightly. So yeah, explain what Flex is on Power City and what it does for Hex, if you will. And I know there's a lot of stuff out there, like people talk about like Communis and how, it incentivizes long-term staking and Hedron and Icosa and stuff. But Flex, I think, is a little bit different. I'll let you have the floor on this.
Yeah. So essentially what it is, it's the same thing as Liquid Loans and Earn. It's the same protocol, and each one of those coins allows you to borrow. It's a lending protocol that borrows one coin and offers a stable coin in return that is always worth $1 worth of that particular coin. So with these protocols, you can only get a loan in one item, right? Like I said, Liquid Loans is based on Pulse, Earn is based on Pulse X, and now Flex is based on Hex. So there are essentially three things that are created by this whole protocol. You've got your Flex token, which is like the loan token in Liquid Loans. And then you've got your Hex DC, which is your stable coin that's tied to always redeemable for $1 worth of Hex. So that's how those are able to be pegged to a certain dollar value. And essentially what you do is you lock up your Hex and over collateralize it, obviously, because you can get liquidated. It's just like a loan. I would definitely recommend over 140, 150%, if you don't want to lose your token. So, you take the loan out, you get your Hex DC, which is your stable coin, and then you can cash that into whatever it may be. USDC, DAI. I'm sure there will be a pairing for that, a liquidity pairing for those, to where you can get dollars for that, and then you just repay back your loan. So there is a little bit of a fee. It's zero interest though. The loan is zero interest. You pay it back as you need, but again, you want to make sure that you're over collateralized, or you will end up losing the tokens. It is a dangerous game to play when the markets are going down. It's fine when things are going up, and you're earning more and more collateral against. You can borrow more and more and more and do different things with it. But once things turn around, it's a very dangerous place to be, if you can't collateralize anymore or pay back some of the loan that you already have. So just be very careful of it. But the whole mindset of it saying it fixes Hex. Hex was not broken. Hex is still, I still think it's one of the most undervalued protocols that are out there, and probably one of the best that is on Ethereum. It's just, the price doesn't show it right now. People aren't valuing it for what it is, but the T-share, everything about the T-share that there is one of a kind. So yeah, I mean, that's the short, the skinny of it, of this one. This is also, like I said, this is done by Power City, who has just released the Earn one for the PulseX. Just another protocol to allow you to borrow against your stuff rather than selling it.
Yeah, I think that's terrific. And I am with you because, I see that rhetoric out there of like, oh yeah, Hex is finally fixed and stuff like that. People say that. And honestly, even with the communist stuff and everything, like, I know some people may not like this opinion. I know Sami talks about it sometime, but like all these other things being built for Hex to like incentivize staking and stuff. It's like, well, why isn't it just valuable to begin with? Like if you're getting paid out in the yield, and it's cool that other things are out there. Like, oh yeah, this rewards long-term staking behavior. This rewards this, or this rewards that. And that's cool, but it would be nice if it like didn't need all those things. You know what I mean?
It doesn't.
And I'm not right. And I'm not saying that it needs flex necessarily either. Yeah, I'm with you. And I'm still with you. I mean, I think it's like the best smart contract that has been built on Ethereum, and still is the best way to earn yield. If you want to lock up long term like that. I mean, I think it is great, and people just need to come back and realize it again. And will the market do that? And again, like Crypto Coffee was talking the other day. I mean, like maybe the goalposts have been moved or whatever. People like the price expectations are a little bit different now or whatever. But, if you're earning the crazy kind of yield that is available in Hex on either chain, do you think total combined Hex will be even $1 one day? If you have any kind of substantial amount of money in it and any kind of long-term stakes, I mean, like you would likely do pretty well at that point,
Yeah.
I know it's not for everybody. I'm not condoning staking. You do whatever you want. I don't care what anybody does. That's totally up to you. Some people like, even if it's a portion of your portfolio that's like, you know what, I'm going to put this stack into Hex on PulseChain. I'm going to stake it out, X number of years, and that'll be that bag. Almost like, I don't want to call it lottery ticket, but just have a portion of your portfolio dedicated to that if you don't want to do it the whole way, And we know there are people out there that did it the whole way, all huge long stakes, and, they aren't necessarily happy at the moment. But that's why you got to do a ladder and do other things. I mean, I think you have to differentiate stuff. Yeah.
There's a lot of people in the market that aren't happy right now. It's not just Hexicans, it's across the board. So
yeah, agreed.
Cool.
Well, Hex Flex from Power City, very cool. Alan, we are just wrapping up actually, but you are welcome to go through and watch the stream. But good show. We had a lot of people in here tonight. I saw some new names. Stevie Summertime, good call on Blaster. I have a little bit of that. But Tin Top, Mission Possible, Hex Girl, About Everything with Marty, Joe, KD. yeah, there's a lot of new names that I don't recognize here. Dion Ashman, yeah, a lot of new names I did not see in here tonight. So thank you all for being here. We do this every single Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually talk DeFi, PulseChain, things like that, as well as what else is going on in the world of crypto. So we appreciate all you being here. Do you have any final thoughts at all tonight, Ewok?
Well, I know we're not going to cover it, but I do want people to realize that ZKZX privacy protocol that was released by the GoPulse guys, they did pull or are about to pull the front end down. So if you had any of that token, you might want to look into what you should do with it. The front end got taken down. The contract still exists. So, your tokens aren't gone if you had them, but just, because we had talked about it before, I wanted to bring up to people that, they might want to look into what they should do next with it. So that's all I had.
Yeah, definitely. We were going to cover that more as like a topic, but yeah, that's really all it is. Yeah, the privacy protocol. And we can get into like, will more privacy stuff be launched on PulseChain? Because that's a conversation that I wanted to have too. Just don't have as much time here tonight. So
sure.
Good stuff by you, Ewok. So thanks everybody.
Week.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more next week. A lot with as long as well as a bunch of other stuff. So before you guys get out of here, do us a favor and hit the like. We appreciate you being here. We do this every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for my friend Crypto Ewok, this has been Boi Crypto. We'll catch you guys next week right here on the Creed of Crypto live stream. See you guys.